Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're dissecting the morning that completely shattered the beautiful game. We are looking at the 2015 FIFA corruption case, which honestly is basically a true crime thriller that just happened to unfold at the absolute pinnacle of global sports. This wasn't just some run-of-the-mill scandal. It was a systemic earthquake that completely exposed the hidden machinery running the world's most popular sport. Let's dive in. Okay, picture this setting. Dawn is just breaking over the Baur Lock, this incredibly luxurious hotel in Zurich, Switzerland. The vibe is quiet, serene, completely unassuming. For the executives sleeping inside, five-star luxury is just, well, it's their baseline reality, right? They're treated like heads of state wherever they travel. But on this specific morning, football's most powerful men are abruptly waking up, not to room service bringing them coffee, but to Swiss police literally knocking at their doors. Arrests, handcuffs, absolute shockwaves ripping through the pristine hallways of one of the world's most exclusive hotels.
And that kicks off what's known as the Dawn Raid, happening on May 27, 2015.
7? That's the exact number of top FIFA officials arrested that morning by Swiss authorities who were acting on urgent requests from the United States. And I really want to emphasize the caliber of these guys. We aren't talking about low-level administrators or some rogue accountants here. These were the ultimate insiders, the absolute power brokers of the sport, suddenly being escorted out of their luxury suites in handcuffs. Just imagine the sheer panic this caused internally. 7 of the most powerful decision-makers in global sports essentially vanished, just days before a major FIFA Congress, right when the entire football world was gathering to chart the future of the game. The logistical and political nightmare this triggered behind the scenes is honestly almost unfathomable. So what exactly were the authorities looking for? Let's get into the $150 million machine and unpack this syndicate. To really grasp the gravity of the charges brought by the FBI and the DOJ, we have to talk about racketeering. Now, racketeering isn't a charge you just throw at a couple of rogue employees making bad choices. No, it means the authorities viewed these executives not as sports administrators, but basically as a coordinated mob operating a highly organized, illegal business. We're talking bribery, money laundering, wire fraud, all wrapped up into a massive, meticulously structured operation. This was a sophisticated syndicate hiding right in plain sight under the banner of global football. $150 million. Seriously, let that number sink in for a second. This wasn't just a single envelope of cash slid under a table in a dark room somewhere. This was an industrial-scale machine fueled by over $150 million in alleged bribes. And the craziest part, it didn't just happen overnight. This massive accumulation of illicit wealth spanned decades. It was generation after generation of football executives operating in a culture where this level of financial manipulation wasn't just tolerated, it was literally the standard operating procedure for doing business on the global stage. And these officials weren't just taking payouts in a vacuum. They were actively trading their immense power for highly lucrative deliverables. And this right here is where it directly impacts you and me, the fans watching at home. Money was allegedly influencing decisions at the absolute highest level of the sport. We're talking about the manipulation of exclusive media rights deals, massive sponsorship contracts, and highly coveted tournament hosting votes. The very tournaments millions of us tune in to watch, from the Copa America all the way up to bids for the World Cup itself, were completely compromised. The integrity of the locations, the broadcasts, the very fabric of the global game, it was basically being sold to the highest bidder. So, that brings us to the power brokers. Who actually ran this system? When you look at the architecture of this syndicate, you've got these highest-ranking executives and key power brokers, figures like Jeffrey Webb, Jack Warner, and Eugenio Figueiredo, facing immediate arrest and direct implication. I mean, these men controlled vast regions of the global football map. And then, sitting squarely in the center of this gathering storm, was FIFA President Sepp Blatter. Now, while he wasn't in handcuffs that morning, intense scrutiny instantly locked right onto him. As the ultimate head of the organization, the question wasn't just what he did, but what he allowed to happen under his watch during those decades of rampant corruption. The contrast here is just wild. You have an untouchable institution that operated with absolute, unchecked control for decades, suddenly facing an instant global collapse of credibility. The world reacted with unprecedented speed. Major corporate sponsors, which, let's be real, are the lifeblood of FIFA's revenue, began to totally panic and issue statements demanding reform. Fans were rightfully outraged, finally realizing the depth of the betrayal. Governments and investigative bodies everywhere demanded immediate answers. An institution's carefully curated image, built up over nearly a century, pretty much collapsed overnight. Which leads us perfectly into the house collapsing, the rapid fall of Blatter. Just look at this incredibly compressed, dramatic window of time. So on May 27th, the Zurich dawn raid happens, right? Just a few days later, in a move of sheer, unbelievable defiance, given the absolute chaos swirling around him, Sepp Blatter actually stands for, and wins, re-election as FIFA president. It was this surreal moment where the organization basically tried to pretend it was business as usual. But it wasn't. The pressure from the ongoing investigation, the terrified sponsors, the furious public, it was just unstoppable. Within less than a week of winning that defiant re-election, the walls closed in and Blatter was forced to announce his complete resignation. Just like that, a deeply entrenched era of football ended in a matter of days. So, are they reformed or just recovered? Let's look at the institutional aftermath. Now, the investigation certainly didn't stop with a single resignation. More arrests followed, dozens more officials were formally indicted. So to try and salvage its reputation and survive this immense financial and legal fallout, FIFA promised a comprehensive step-by-step reform process. Step 1, implement strict new governance rules. Step 2, mandate sweeping organizational transparency. And Step 3, execute complete leadership changes to usher in this new era of integrity. But of course, this raised a massive debate. Were these steps the foundation of a genuinely reformed governing body, or was this simply a calculated PR survival tactic designed to placate sponsors and keep the underlying business intact? Because there's a fundamental truth to institutional failure, isn't there? Trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. An organization can draft entirely new rulebooks. They can hire a whole fleet of compliance officers and change the faces at the very top. But the psychological damage to the sport's global image? That was already done. Fans and observers were left with a deep-seated cynicism about the very nature of football administration. If there's one crucial takeaway from all of this, it's the stark reality behind the beautiful game. Beneath the vibrant pageantry, the screaming stadiums, and the incredible athletic achievements we see on the pitch, lay a dark, unchecked system driven entirely by power, money, and corruption. It was an ecosystem of greed that went completely unchallenged for far too long, prioritizing personal wealth way above the integrity of the sport. Which leads me to this final, lingering thought I want to leave you with today. Looking back at the sheer industrial scale of this $150 million machine, the decades of totally unchecked power, and the terrifying suddenness of the fallout, do you think FIFA has actually reformed its core identity? Or did they just recover from the part of the machine they let us see? Has football truly changed? It's something to deeply consider the next time you tune in to a major global match. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it gave you a much clearer structural understanding of football's darkest day.